I know that you and I have at least done this once today. As I was browsing through Google, I found that there is a new variant of COVID-19 in the UK. Now, when we hear about these new variants, who do we usually blame? The unvaccinated, right? We usually view them as ignorant or selfish. Like, why can't they just get the vaccine? Like, why can't we just end this pandemic by getting the vaccine? But that's not the true story. We have the view of other societal factors of why they aren't getting the vaccines, such as if a person doesn't have transportation or if they do not have enough money to be able to go and get the vaccine. This is an example of a puritanical bias. Committing a puritanical bias is wrong because we usually associate one thing with one problem, but in reality, there's more to the story. Today, we will be looking at what a puritanical bias is, the puritanical bias of COVID-19, and the puritanical bias of obesity. What is a puritanical bias? Well, it is when somebody assumes all of the wrongdoings on a person without taking into account the social determinants of why somebody made that decision. It's basically an assumption that everybody does on a daily basis, but it's mostly unintentional. Say I'm driving down the road and I see a homeless man walking down the street. What do we usually think? He's either a war veteran or he hasn't really done much in life, but that cannot always be the case. He could have gotten divorced, could have had a rough relationship, then left, could have been in a job and where he got fired and now he doesn't have anywhere to pay rent and provide for himself. See, all these things have to be taken into perspective of why they are homeless. It can't just be, oh, because they haven't done anything in life. That is an example of puritanical bias. Next, we'll focus on obesity and the puritanical bias. Usually in society, we view obesity as a lack of self-control on one person's health. We tend to assume that overeating, not exercising, and overspending on foods are major parts of what causes obesity. That is true and all, but there are more concepts that we need to dig deeper on. There are more various social and environmental factors such as wealth and income. Specifically, if I'm poor and I'm poorer than other people and I need to purchase food, there are 4 types of options I can get. There's fast food, processed food, natural foods, and organic foods. If I'm low on money, what am I normally going to choose? The fast food, right? That makes the most sense because it's the most cheap. It's most cheap and I can get more for my money, basically, comparing to natural and natural and processed food, which are pretty high in fat and high on calories, but it makes sense. Next, we will look at the puritanical bias of COVID-19. As of right now, it is year 3 of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though rules have been less restrictive, there can still be a possibility of somebody catching it. Say somebody does catch it and COVID spreads to other people, causing an outbreak. Usually we will describe them as irresponsible, arrogant, and just plain out disrespectful. But we don't know what happened, how that person got COVID in the first place. Could he have been asymptomatic and just spread it to other people without even knowing it? Could it be that they were not wearing their mask and being irresponsible or not social distancing? All of these fall into an assumption base. We actually do not know how he got caught COVID, how he caught COVID in the first place. In fact, since we do not know that they're carrying and spreading the virus, specifically, this is a huge example of the puritanical bias. Now we all know what a puritanical bias is, the puritanical bias of obesity and the puritanical bias of COVID-19. We know that committing a puritanical bias is wrong because we assume that what a person does or look like is a contributing factor, but in reality, it's not. Now, I'm hoping that you know what a puritanical bias is. I hope that you don't commit them in the future.